Is crying a weakness or a superpower? Let's talk about it. Welcome to episode 132. You've heard it before, and maybe even recently, things like, big girls don't cry. Stop crying, or I'm going to give you something to cry about. Or toughen up. But what if crying isn't a weakness? What if it's your superpower? Today, let's explore what those tears actually mean for your body, mind, and health, and why your relationship with crying might be more revealing than you think. Hi, I'm Clarenda Price, a certified life and weight loss coach, previous nurse for 21 years, and personal trainer. I help women like you optimize their health so they can feel lighter in their mind and body. So let's talk about it. I've got 4 realizations that may help you look at crying a little bit differently. Whether you find it hard to let the tears come, or they come often and sometimes without warning. You might see yourself in one of these, or possibly all 4, depending on the circumstance. Either way, I hope this gives you more information that's going to give you more compassion, understanding, and maybe even permission. Number 1, let's start with the science and benefits behind tears. Crying helps regulate the nervous system. When you're overwhelmed or overstimulated, a good cry can bring your body back into a state of calm. To be clear, we're talking about emotional tears, not the reflex tears that come from something like chopping an onion. Crying is one of the ways of releasing excess stress hormones like cortisol, literally helping you offload built-up tension, built-up stress, and restore balance to your nervous system. So to put it real simple, when you cry, your body is getting rid of excess stress hormones through your tears. Crying can improve sleep quality after an emotional release. Ever notice how much calmer you feel, but also tired after a good cry? Emotional crying is unique to humans. It can be a signal that says, I'm overwhelmed, I need help, I want more connection. It promotes social bonding and empathy. When you cry in front of someone and they witness that, it does open up the door to a deeper connection. Number 2, why some people cry often and others hardly cry at all. This is a big one. Many people wonder, why can't I cry when I'm feeling sad? And others may be wondering, why do I tear up over even little things? Here's what could be at play. Biology. Hormones like prolactin, higher in women, can make crying more likely, and others like testosterone, which is higher in men, may inhibit it. Another thing that could be at play is neurodivergence. Some individuals process emotions differently. It doesn't mean that they feel less, it just might look different. Your upbringing. Were tears welcomed, ignored, or shamed? Many of us grew up or have been in relationships where we heard, you're too sensitive. Suck it up, buttercup. Wipe those tears. Pull yourself together. Don't let people see you crying. We can't leave out culture and gender considerations. There are expectations. Men are often conditioned not to cry. Women might be labeled as too emotional. This affects how freely we allow and express our emotions. Protective patterns. If crying led to shame, embarrassment, or punishment, the body may have subconsciously learned to suppress it. Unprocessed emotions. This is something I often help my clients recognize. Crying may actually be an indicator of unprocessed emotions from past experiences. Sometimes what looks like crying over nothing is actually your body asking for space to process those emotions. The emotions that you never fully got to experience back then. I can use my example, going through a divorce while also grieving my dad. I've had to work through those. This wasn't supposed to be today's topic. I had another one prepared, but this morning and even last evening, I was processing a conversation that I had with a really dear nursing friend. We've known each other for 35 years. We worked together on psychiatry. In fact, we were 12-hour night partners. So you can imagine how much we've shared over the years. I sat with her at a funeral for her pastor, and while he wasn't my pastor, he was a man that was just so kind and compassionate, and I've had opportunity throughout from teenager on to have different interactions with him. So of course I wanted to be there to honor him. I was sitting with her and another friend of hers, and afterwards we were talking, and her friend and I, we were like tears coming when we heard the grandkids talking about their papa, when his son and daughter, when they shared their experience, and then the pastor's message and so many more. And I noticed that my friend, I know how much she loves and cares and respects him, but maybe a few tears and that was all. So out of curiosity, of course, I have to ask her afterwards. I just commented, I said, I noticed that you don't cry very often. And even thinking back on the years we worked together on the unit, she was amazing at keeping our morale, our team morale up. But often she just stayed Ellen. She didn't cry. And it served her well in so many ways. Some of us have retired. She continues to work on, no burnout, loves to support her clients. And she sees it as a superpower, as a gift to not have to cry. Others will see it as a superpower to cry. I think what makes the biggest difference is the story we're telling ourselves about it and if it's serving us or not. And like I said earlier under the neural divergence, she said, it's not that I don't care. I care deeply. I feel deeply. It just doesn't express in tears. And growing up, it was the same. She wasn't one to express herself in tears like others might. Now, as I'm writing out this podcast, though, I want to follow up with a question to say, what was modeled for you? And some of the questions we've already asked, did you feel safe as a child to be able to express yourself? Or were you more into an adult role as a child and had to take on responsibility? A lot of unanswered questions. It also had me reflecting that Dad is probably the one who I saw cry from a big heart, as in he would talk about something or hear someone talking about something and he'd go to speak and he'd choke up. And it was normally from a compassionate place, whereas with Mom would stay strong through that, kind of stoic. But when she would cry is when she was really overwhelmed, stressed, or feeling really down. So while they did do the usual, dry those tears up because we're going in somewhere, it was also modeled, and I grew up in a home where tears were okay, but there was kind of an underlying that it better be serious if you're crying about it. And I think part of that reason for them is they just didn't want us to look or be spoiled. I invite you to, with curiosity, not judgment, think about what was modeled for you and also what you modeled for your children, and possibly now, what are you going to model for your grandchildren? Number 3, emotional intelligence and the role of tears. How about we reframe crying as a form of emotional intelligence, not a sign of weakness, regardless of your gender? Crying is often a signal that you're in touch with your emotions. You're not controlled by them. Holding back tears doesn't always mean that you're strong. It may mean that you haven't been shown that it's safe to release. Allowing tears, your own or someone else's, can build deeper trust in your relationships. And that is another good question you can ask yourself. How comfortable are you with holding space when someone else is crying? Or are you offering them something to eat or drink just as a distraction or to make them feel better in the moment? Or do you sit quietly with them and just tell them, it's okay, it's okay. It's a beautiful release. Just let them flow. Suppressing tears can often backfire, leading to tension, maybe in your neck or in your head, burnout, or numbing. And here's a simple reminder. Crying doesn't always come from sadness. It can come from grief, frustration, awe, empathy, gratitude, and even beauty. It's how we're wired to process emotion. Think about when you've witnessed a baby being born. There's a lot of emotions being expressed, and probably no one really faults you on that kind of processing. And last but not least, realization number 4, when crying becomes a pattern or disappears completely. Let's talk about the 2 ends of the spectrum. Some of this will overlap with things that we've already said, but maybe you just need to hear it a slightly different way for it to land in a way that you can receive with more compassion and understanding. Some people feel like they can't stop crying, like the smallest things triggers tears. If that's you, it might be a sign of unprocessed trauma, high emotional sensitivity, or, as mentioned, a hormonal imbalance. Your body could be trying to release more than it has the capacity to process at that moment. On the other hand, some people can't seem to cry even when they wish they could. That might come from emotional shutdown, chronic stress, or feeling disconnected from your inner world. It's like the body put a do not disturb sign on emotions, often for protection. And then there's this important distinction: crying to process versus crying to stay stuck. Sometimes tears help us move forward, and other times they can keep us circling in the same emotional loop if we're not aware of what's underneath it. The difference often lies in whether we're releasing emotion or whether we're recycling it. Over the years, I've seen how powerful it is when someone starts to recognize their emotional patterns. Not to overanalyze, but to finally feel supported and not stay stuck. So, what do you think? Should you stop crying? Or maybe should you start crying more? And what if the real question is, what are my tears trying to tell me? Whether you cry easily, rarely, or somewhere in between, there's no right way. But there's always wisdom in noticing the patterns and then learning to honor what your body and mind are asking for. Was this helpful? Maybe timely? Did anything resonate? Or maybe challenge what you've believed about crying? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your story, or even that unexpected moment when tears just came out of nowhere. I want to encourage you to share this episode with someone who might need to hear that their emotions, their tears are valid. Thank you for watching, and maybe you are listening to it on audio. Just know that you can see it in video on YouTube. Until the next time, make it a great week.